TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey gang, welcome in. It is Sunday. What is it? August the 18th already. And this is In the Batter's Box. And my name is Scott Webb. And I wasn't on yesterday. I had something come up. One of my wife's friends had some issues and some different things, so we had to go take care of some stuff. So, but life happens and stuff goes on, and it is what it is. So, kind of play that stuff by ear as it goes. Yesterday turned into more of a football day. I ended up betting like 4 football games and 1 baseball game. So, went 2-2 on the football games. So, not too bad. Today, looking at kind of how things are going and where we're going with stuff. One of the things I told my guys, and when they are looking for the data and the numbers, I do my own lines. So I call them Webby odds, and when I make the Webby odds in the morning, they're all done through Sabermetrics and numbers and stuff. So they're not like opinion that I come up with these numbers, but they are, not, they're my numbers. And then I have an EV Plus tool, so that tool then shows the value between where you can get a good spot. Say, for example, there's where the line might be at a sports book offered at a certain price, but realistically the line should be something else, and it gives you where those values are. Well, the reason I bring this up is because we're at a point now in Major League Baseball where some of this stuff doesn't matter anymore. So you have 30 teams, 15 games, and my Webby odds came up with 5 spots. So I didn't go and plug in all the numbers for all the other games, because it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's a waste of time, because you can handicap to find games, and you can look at other things to help you with a team total or a total on a baseball game or something. But if questions come up or things happen in our shows in the next few weeks here, there might be a spot where I didn't do any of that quote homework. But what'll be fun is if something does like that happen, we can go over it and do it live. So, stuff like that can happen. So you can see sort of what I look at and sort of what happens if those things curtail or those things happen. We're also at a point where weird things go on. You have teams that are, trying to make the playoffs, trying to win divisions, and can't beat teams that are, less than 500. So, case in point, you're looking at like teams like Seattle Mariners, right? The Seattle Mariners are trying to win their division, and they absolutely must win their division, because they might not make the playoffs, or probably won't make the playoffs if they don't. So they get the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they can't beat the Pirates 2 days in a row, and they can't hit, they can't score any runs. And again, we're in that same spot again today with that team. So you got weird stuff like that happens with these teams. And then, it's Sunday. So, this is a be careful kind of day. And it's always that way throughout the regular season, let alone where we are in the current part of the season. Because these managers do stuff that, in terms of resting players. So sometimes, like to do this show, you come on at noon, and, the games don't necessarily start till, 1:40 to 2 o'clock, stuff like that. 4 o'clock. And you might have a spot where, okay, this is kind of based on the normalcy of what happens with a team. These might be good spots. Well, the Phillies today, for example, and if I can pull this stuff up, it might be a little easier. But the Phillies today, for example, they're not starting Bryce Harper, so Bryce Harper's not playing. I thought it was interesting to see what the Astros did today. So, the Astros are in a spot where, okay, they've kind of widened their margin on the Mariners some. But what they decided to do, if I can pull it up real fast, what they decided to do, I'm trying to get to the Astros lineup here. It's a really weird lineup. There you go. So Altuve's leading off, which isn't unusual. He normally does, but he's a second baseman. But today he's playing designated hitter. So that's going to throw a wrinkle into some things already when you think about, okay, Altuve's the designated hitter, followed by Pena, the shortstop. Well, he doesn't normally bat second. Pena doesn't normally do that. Says, hey, Scott, do you see any value on betting on the Royals today? Hey, Matt, the answer to that question is yes, and we're going to go over that game in just a minute. So you got Altuve and then Pena and then Diaz. All right, so where's Alvarez and Bregman? They're not playing. So you've got a lineup that's Altuve, Pena, Diaz, Myers at batting cleanup, Whitcomb playing third base, DeZenzo first base, Dubon at second base, McCormick in left field, and Leon in right field. This is certainly not the A-plus lineup that the Astros can put forth. And, I get it. They're minus 400 or whatever it is. But the reality is that, when you're making bets and you're trying to count on your players playing, it's Sunday. So stuff happens, and this is a perfect example of what I'm trying to tell you. These teams go out there and they do really weird things sometimes. So getting into the games. So I've got a couple of spots that I wanted to talk about. And the first one, Matt brought it up, is the Kansas City Royals today, and they play the Cincinnati Reds. And 2 nights ago, I kind of liked the spot where the Royals lost, and then they won yesterday. Hey, Ken, how you doing, brother? It's good to see you. It says, good afternoon. Look forward to the Sunday listen. Thank you. It says, keep up the good work. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on board. But in this game, this is an interesting spot for Kansas City and Cincinnati. My thoughts here are 2 things. One, the Cleveland Guardians, who are in first place in that division, won't be by the time that it's over. And I'm not so sure that, Minnesota won't catch them and surpass them relatively quick, because I think at this point, if I look at the standings, baseball, MLB, if I look at the standings there, I think they're only 2 games back now. They're 2 games behind. So I think what's going to end up happening, I think the Twins are a better team. They got much, much better pitching and more consistent offense. So I think the biggest advantage that the Guardians have will be the bullpen. But I think the Twins pass the Guardians. And to be quite honest, I'm not so sure that the Royals don't pass the Guardians too. And I know it's the weirdest thing to sit here and tell you that the Guardians have 72 wins, the Orioles 72 wins, and the Yankees 72 wins. It could get to a point over the next 40 games that the Guardians don't even make the playoffs. It could get that way. when you're pitching guys like Lively and Carrasco as some of your better guys, I just they have Williams, who's been halfway decent. Bibby's been good, but he's not an ace. They're reliant on a guy like Matthew Boyd, a guy off the trash heap to off the streets to come out and make it for them. I think that they're going to get caught and passed, and they're going to have to hang on for dear life and get really, really hot like they were to sustain. So having said that, I think that the Kansas City Royals and the Minnesota Twins are in spots where, they're going to want to win these games until they can get ahead of the Guardians and get deeper into the playoffs, if that makes sense. If you look at it right now in the wild card standings, you've got Yankees, Guardians, Astros as the division leaders. Then you got Orioles, Twins, Royals. Twins and Royals. The Twins are 2 games ahead of the Royals, and then the Royals are 2.5 games ahead of the Red Sox. So these are all teams trying to make it. And see, the Mariners are 5.5 games back, so they got to win their division too. So these teams have to get their stuff situated because there's only 40 games left, and the more teams you have to pass and the more games you have to catch up, it just makes things really hard. So the Royals are in a spot today where they're 13 games over 500. Their run differential is plus 102. So they're a good baseball team. They get good pitching. They're not necessarily the best offense in the world, but they're timely on offense. And they got a superstar. I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. is a superstar. And when Bobby Witt Jr. as the superstar is driving the bus, okay, so when I say that, that means offensively he's leading the way. And I grade that through offensive WAR numbers for the last 7 days. And that's where they are. Bobby Witt is driving the bus right now for the Royals. So that's a positive when the best player on your team is also the catalyst to why you're doing well on offense. So you can rely on that. That's something that you should be happening and should continue to happen, right? So they're playing the Reds today, and the Reds are a 500-ish team. They're 60 and 63. And there's a couple of things in here. If I can pull up my numbers, there we go. So I don't think that Singer, the pitcher for the Royals, is getting any credit. They have some good pitchers, right? They have Reagans, and they've gotten really good use out of Lugo. But Singer, he's a 3 WAR pitcher. Lugo, he's like a 3.5 pitcher, and Reagans, he's like a 4.5, 5. So he's a different animal. But when I don't think people think of the Royals pitching and they throw Singer in there at all. But Singer's been really good. His year-to-date game score is 54. 60 is what an ace does, and there's only handfuls of those guys that get to that number. 54 is pretty good. Over the last 7 starts, he's a 53, so that's pretty much right where he needs to be. His last 3 starts is a 45, so it's a little bit below, and his last one was a 28. So he's paid off any overages that he's had in terms of the mean to get to that 54. He's below that number. So he needs to get back to that 54. That's just the way math is and the way, average to the mean works. So that means he's ripe for a very good start. And I expect him to have a good start. His xFIP number is 3.31. And xFIP is a great measure of predictive result in terms of controlling the game from the mound. We talk about that and what an offense is trying to do. So an offense is trying to hit home runs. They're trying to have damaging blows. And a pitcher, if you're controlling everything from the mound, the three true outcomes, and control those three true outcomes, walks, strikeouts, home runs. And if you could only grade those three things, which you can, you would have FIP. XFIP is the predictive measure of that. He's 3.31, which is top 25% of all of baseball. And that's even with having those kind of rougher starts here in the last couple of games. So I like the idea that he's pitching really well. What you want to look for in this matchup is Cincinnati's offense is ranked 18th overall in offense. But where Cincinnati's been really good is isolated power. They've hit home runs and they've hit extra bases. So we want a pitcher that can control that. So we want to look at his home run rate, and we go back and look at his home run rate. It's 0.57. That's an average number, but it's so close to being in the top 25%. So he's like in the top 35%. He's really good, but he's not in the top 25. So I like that part of it. He doesn't walk guys. His whip rate's 1.2, so that's good. It's not 1, but it's good, and he's out there not making mistakes. 0.31 WPA win percent added, so that's really good. So he's making better pitchers' pitches than he is mistakes, more of them. So he's getting guys out, right? So if you look at it on a situational basis, he's been really good at home, not as good on the road. So he's not as good of a road pitcher, and he's on the road today. But over his last 28 days, SOPS plus, again, how you control an opponent's offense, he's an 86. So that's graded on a 100 scale. So he's 14% better than an average pitcher. So everything is kind of lining up to be where, okay, he's a pretty good pitcher, but he's also supposed to have a good start today because he's had 2 or 3 bad ones here. So I think that's where you're going to get value today is he's going to pitch pretty good. Cincinnati's going to have to really work hard. And if things look the way that they appear to look, he's not going to give up home runs. And if he's not giving up home runs, that makes it even harder for Cincinnati because that's what they're doing well right now is they're getting the extra base hits. On the other side of that, you look at it from the pitcher Abbott, who's pitching for Cincinnati. Now, Abbott has had one thing go good for him the entire season. He has a WPA that's been very good. He's put the ball in spots to get outs. That's what he's done. But the truth is, other than that, he hasn't done very well. His SOPS plus, for example, we just said for Brady Singer, it was an 86, so he's 14% better than average pitcher. Abbott is 142, so he's 42% worse than an average pitcher. Think about that. And you got an average pitcher, and he's almost half as bad worse than that. So that means that you should have an advantage to the offense because he's not controlling the offense to Kansas City. And so if we look at that and we kind of break it off and say, let's see, what does that look like? He's a 4.94 xFIP. And remember, you had 3.31 for Singer. So you have 1.5 run advantage there. He's a 4.70 Sierra and a 5.65 FIP number. Those are in the worst 25% of all of baseball. So you got one guy in the top 25% of baseball, the other guy in the worst 25% of baseball in terms of just metrics and performance and what it looks like. And then how do you get there? Well, you get there because his batting average against is 294. His whip rate's 1.61. So that's the worst 25% of baseball. 294 is the worst 25% of baseball. His home run rate is 203. He's given up 2 home runs every 9 innings. Well, that's not good. That's not good at all. That's top 25% worst of baseball. So his hard hit rate is 40%. That's not good either. Anything over like 38 is not very good. And he's 40. So he's having some issues. And I just said one of the things that he's done all year long that's been really good is WPA. His WPA for the whole season is 1.34 to the good. That's a high number. For the last 30 days, it's a minus. He's minus 0.15, which isn't a lot, but it's still minus. And it's a big differential from where he has been. He's been throwing the ball where he needs to get the outs. Now he's making mistakes and he's getting crushed. Well, then you go look and say, well, can the Royals take advantage of that? The Royals are scoring 6 runs a game right now. 6. That they've scored 30 runs in the last 5 games. They rank 6th on offense, 3rd in isolated power. They're 28% better than an average offense. And Bobby Witt Jr., 5.4 offensive WAR. He's the guy driving the bus. So when you think about it and you come out and you go, that kind of seems like this is right up the alley of where Kansas City should be. We talked about it sort of prefacing this game that they should want to win this game to try to catch Cleveland. They are in a spot where my numbers, Webby odds, was minus 121. I think Kansas City's minus 121. And when I bet it this morning, I got it. I could have got it at 109. I paid 110. It's minus 110. It's pick 'em, right? Minus 110, 110, 105, 105, wherever you can get the number. And I think so that creates some value. If you get 110, the value is 4.5% EV positive. So, yes, to answer the question, I think there's value in betting the Royals today. My biggest concern about the Royals is their bullpen, and they have an inconsistent offense. But they're facing a pitcher today that's not a big strikeout guy. So I kind of like the idea that they're going to put balls in play, and if they can put balls in play and do some damage here, I think the Royals are in a good spot. So that was one of the ones I wanted to go over. Now, this deal with the Mariners, there's a good spot today with Kirby. So what I think is you have to figure out how to bet it. So George Kirby is one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. He's really good. His performance in terms of wins and losses hasn't been. Hey, Marty Lowe, how are you, brother? Thanks for checking in this morning. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for saying hello. George Kirby, it's a big number. It's a big line. It wasn't quite as big, and then I flipped it around and looked at it again just a little bit ago, and it's like, holy crap, it's like minus 180 now or something. Seattle, is you can't rely on their offense. Now, I would tell you Woodford's not very good, the pitcher for the Pirates, but over the last couple of times he's a spot starter. He doesn't go out and start every five days. But over his last couple of times he's done this, he's pitched pretty well. Game score in the 60 last time, which means he's probably due for a shellacking, right? He should get bombed. Now, having said that, Pittsburgh doesn't hit either. So if I look at this on offense for both of these two teams, and I go back over here and we go to offense, there it is. The Seattle Mariners ranked 28th in offense, 29th in isolated power. You don't want to bet on a team that's almost dead last in offense to win a game. You can't. You don't know whether they can or not. But the Pirates are 20th in offense. But they're only scoring. So Seattle scores 3.5 runs a game, and the Pirates are scoring 3.3 runs a game. So that's not even good either. So their offense is bad, just as bad. They're just not. You don't hear about it so much because obviously they're not in a pennant run, or not a pennant run, but a divisional run or a playoff run. So I think what you do here is you look at it from this perspective. If I go to the starting pitchers and I start to look at these guys, one of my favorite things is these pitchers get blown up from time to time, like just blown up. Well, George Kirby, we just said, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's got a game score of 55 for the entire season. And likely, minus the last start, it's probably a 56. So he's pushing closer to getting to that 57, 58 number, which is kind of elite. He threw a minus 11 game score. I think he gave up like 11 runs in 3 innings or something. Well, he's not going to do that. And what happens when guys do that, especially when you're a good pitcher, all these pitchers will have these kind of games. Somebody will have, it doesn't matter whether you're Tariq Skubal or whoever, you're going to have a bad game or two throughout 30 starts. It's just the way it works. But typically when you have that bad game, you rebound the next 2 starts very high because it's the law and means of averages again. So if he's a game score of 55 for the season and he's an 11, minus 11 the last time, if he throws, say, a 70, we'll say through to 71, just to make math easy. Minus 11 and 71 equals 60. Divided by 2 is 30. He's going to have to throw another like big game, 60, 70. And then he's starting to build that number kind of up to where his 55 was. So that's how this works. So you should expect the Pirates to score 1 run or less off of Kirby today, maybe 2 runs or less. So I think where you go with this is I think you go with this and you go and you say, hey, Pittsburgh team total under the number. Let's see what that number is. Hang on, Matt. I see your message. I'll look at it in just 1 second. You go over here and where is now how come I don't have it up right there? And maybe it's because I have this window. There it is. Like I know I have all these windows open. So let's go to team totals for just a second. Let's see. What is the Pirates team total today? 3.5 under. I think it's an under 3.5. I don't think they score more than 3.5 runs this whole entire game. So I think Kirby will throw 7 innings, maybe 8, because he'll be that good. And I don't think that they score any runs, or very few runs. So I think that's how that works. Matt T says, hey, Scott, you definitely put in the work on handicapping these games. Love how you explain how you find value and why you like your pick. Matt, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Well, I think one of the things that you'll find about the way I do things that's different than what you're going to hear from any other shows, any other people, 2 things. One, most of the stuff I'm going to tell you about is proprietary, meaning that I developed it and built it and did it myself. Secondly, is that I'm aged, so I'm not aged to where I'm 80 years old and feeble and can't think straight. I'm aged in a sense that I've been doing this a long time, and I've learned a lot along the way. And what I try to do is cut to the chase, meaning that there's a lot of things you can look at in Major League Baseball, particularly in data. I think the best way to do that is to ask yourself questions and then find the data that answers those questions, right? The old school guys use year-to-date numbers for these pitchers. You're missing the boat if you do that. Because there are segments in time where you miss certain things. So you gotta learn the segments and learn the time segments and sequences of how to make sure that you're getting the right segments of time, whether it be a pitcher or a hitter or a relief pitcher or whatever. So, and then like these data points that I tell you guys about, the SOPS pluses, the WPA numbers, the metrics of the XFIP numbers, Sierra numbers. I know other people use them, but I think they just throw the number out there. I don't think they even know what it means. And I don't mean that disrespectfully because that's kind of just what some people do, right? They just go, well, I need to know what this number is. So, but When you really get involved in the business of baseball, the truth is the game has changed, and a lot of people haven't changed with the game. And I think one of the nuances or differences that you'll see from this show is that I don't talk the old school way. I talk the new school way. So there's a lot of times I just wonder, because I use a lot of acronyms. I say a lot of stuff that sometimes I don't even know if people know what I'm talking about. So I do try to break it down in a different verbiage so that it's more acceptable to everybody that can listen. So hopefully the messages get across relatively cleanly. And if you have questions, listen, man, I want you to ask them, because it doesn't do a lot of good for me to come up here and go, hey, the Royals are probably a good play today. And then you go out and play them, and then they lose. And then you go, well, I don't even know why you said to pick the Royals, when I just spent, 10 minutes on why I think the Royals are good. Right. So I want you to have a good feel for what I'm doing or why I think it's that way. And it's not always going to work the way you want it to. I mean, shit, the other day, I lost a game with the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks got back in the game to tie it in the ninth inning. And then with a guy on second, or I think the guy was on first base, they got a base hit up the middle. So the guy was running from first to second, and then was going to third, advancing two bases. Center fielder comes in to pick up the ball and throw it. He kind of didn't pick it up real cleanly. Well, the guy just didn't stop at third base, and they didn't throw him out at home, and the game was over, and I lost because the guy couldn't field a ground ball in the center field. I lost the game because I think it was Laureano for the Braves ran over to try to catch a ball in right field. He was running to go catch it, overran the ball, and the ball goes over his shoulder, and he reaches back to catch it, and he missed it. It's Major League Baseball, man. You lose games all the time, and you win games all the time. I will tell you this, that it can be a very frustrating game to bet on, but the only way I can tell you to bet Major League Baseball is bet value at all times, bet where you bet, make a quality bet, make a good bet, an EV positive bet, and let things go. I have a hard time with that. But you got to let things go, because if you don't, you're going to beat yourself up, because you're going to have times where you just can't win. Just the way it is. You're going to lose a bunch of games, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you're going to win a bunch of games too. Unfortunately for me, it's been a year or two since I've had a big run. It used to be for a month, I would go on a big run where I might lose 5 games in the entire month. It would be just a huge run. And of course, up to that point, it's kind of back and forth, maybe a little bit down, maybe a little bit up, maybe a little bit down, maybe a little bit up. And then you go on this great big run, and that's how you make your whole money for the whole year, kind of. Yeah. So that begs me to ask you guys this question. And I heard it the other day, and I've really been thinking about it. A pretty famous handicapper guy, a guy that used to run a sports book, makes his own numbers, kind of respected guy, Kenny White is his name. He made a comment the other day, and he said, one of the things that I do when I bet baseball, this is Kenny White talking. He said, it's not necessarily good in money management, which I agree. But he said, I just bet kind of regular amounts of money, whatever that looks like. Maybe it's $50 a game. And then when I start getting hot, that's when I go make the money. I'll bet 200 a game, 300 a game, whatever it is. And then when I start losing again, I'm back to $50 a game. So I don't think that that's a bad philosophy for baseball, because the reality is you're going to have ebbs and flows, and they're not necessarily just 1 or 2 days long. You can have a bad streak for 3 weeks. You can have a good streak for a month and a half, or vice versa. It can go the other way too. There's nothing you do can be right. The only thing I will ever tell you is in those streaks and in those valleys and in those things is to make sure 100% make sure that you are making good bets, because in the end, it doesn't matter. Over the course of 1,000 bets, that little segment of time of 2 or 3 weeks, even though it's painful and it's a pain in the ass and it's this, that, and the other thing, it's just a matter of however many bets you make in a week times 3. They're not making 1,000. I guarantee you that. It's hard to make 1,000 bets. I've made like 300 bets in baseball, and I'm betting baseball every day. So when you're doing these things, right, and you're kind of going that way, you can't control the outcomes. All you can do is control the bets you make. So if you make bad bets, then okay, I can't help you. If you make good bets and they still lose, that's part of the process. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do to control that. So ultimately, you just have to keep making good bet after good bet after good bet and let the law of means and averages go. But Matt, I appreciate the comment. That was great. And kind of going from there, we'll keep going. But so again, I think, we talked about, I think you got a value with Kansas City. And I also think you have value in a Pittsburgh team total under, because what you're doing is you're betting on Kirby to have a good game today. And I think you're good there. One of the spots that I wrote down that I think at this point I don't think is as good as what I thought it was. So Webby Odds tells me that Milwaukee with Colin Ray is a good bet. It's a good spot. My number in that particular game, let me go back over here, default. But my number in that game for Milwaukee is Milwaukee's minus 150. And at the time it was 125. Where is it now? Milwaukee is 124, 132. So say anywhere from 124 to 132, 130, say. So it's still good value. It opened at 130. You can bet it at 130. You can get a 124 somewhere. And the reason that it comes up this way in my numbers is because I devalue Cleveland. And it's because Cleveland now, it used to be 12 games, now it's 11. They are 11 games favorable, lucky, in base runs. So you take those 11 games and take those off of there, they're a 500 team. Milwaukee's certainly not a 500 team. They're a division-winning, positive team. And if you want to kind of look at that in a different way, let's look at the standings for 1 second. And you go to the standings and you look at Cleveland. Cleveland is they're really good at home. They're only 34 and 31 on the road. They're 32 and 29 against 500 teams. They're plus 80 run differential. A team like the Brewers, for example, they are 104 run differential. The Dodgers are 100 run differential. The Dodgers have 72 wins. The Brewers have 71 wins. The Phillies are 104. They have 73 wins. The Guardians have 80 run differential. So 20 runs less, but 72 wins. They shouldn't have that many wins because they're not scoring enough that the run differential is not big enough. So an 80, let's find a team that's kind of around 80. The Twins are 71. The Astros are 68, 70. There isn't another team that's like the Padres are 71. The Diamondbacks are 71. But those are all teams that don't have 72 wins. Those are all teams below those numbers. So that's where I'm trying to tell you that Cleveland is overrated in the market. So you can do a lot by betting against Cleveland. And and in the right spots. And Colin Ray is one of those guys, that people don't even know what his name is. And he has pitched. Colin Ray has pitched. And I said this the last time he pitched, I think. Colin Ray, there he is. He's made 20 starts. He's 14-6. The Brewers. When he pitches, they're 14-6, and he's facing a guy like Lively today, and that's what I'm trying to tell everybody. Lively is a guy that's an average pitcher at best. His game score for the season is a 50 average. His game score over the last 7 games, 43, so a little bit below. His xFIP today, 603. That's not very good. His Sierra 595 and his FIP is a 652. The problem that I didn't really realize. So when I go vet these games, right, I'm like, Webby Odds says that's a good bet. So I go, okay, great. I write it down. Good bet. Let's go look at it. So where I run into the problem is Milwaukee's offense right now. We talked about how bad Seattle was scoring 3.5 runs a game. Milwaukee scoring 3.6 runs a game. Well, that's not very good. I don't want to bet on a team that is 27th in offense. They only got 2 guys over 1 WAR driving. One more. They got 1 guy, Contreras, is doing pretty well. But when you have isolated power, they kind of jump up the rank, so that makes them a little bit better, competitive in the game. So it's kind of a weird spot, because my opinion is Milwaukee's offense is better than Cleveland's, but not necessarily right this minute. And secondly, I can't get over the idea that Cleveland's got the best bullpen in Major League Baseball. So then you have to look at it and go, well, that means I've got an even to below average offense. The bullpen on the other side's better. I need my offense to win in the first 5 innings then. I don't trust Colin Ray just to go out and shut down a team in the first 5 innings. He might be able to do it over 6 or 7, given that amount of time and space and different things, because that's kind of, he's not a big strikeout guy, even though his strikeouts have gone up. I'm very surprised. His strikeout rate over the last 30 days is 10.41 strikeouts. That's a lot, especially for a guy that's kind of his age and the stuff he has. His stuff is graded at stuff plus is 84. 100 is kind of the median you want to be at, and he's 16% worse than that. But he's pitching up. So his pitching plus number, how he uses that arsenal, is 98. So that's 14 points differential between the two. So he's got below average spin rate, velocity, movement, stuff like that, below average. But how he uses it, meaning sequencing of pitches, where he locates the pitches, that kind of stuff, is top notch. That's why he's getting the results that he's getting currently, whoever he's listening to, whether it's the catcher or his pitching coach or whatever he's doing. He's found a way to do it, and he's become a really good pitcher. I mean, when you make 20 starts and you win 14 of them, that's pretty good. So anyway, Webby Odd says that's a good play. I didn't play it. I'm not necessarily talking about it today, because what I really want when I make my bet and I feel convicted at the window and I give them my however much money I'm going to bet on this game, let's just say in this case, it's a $250 bet, right? I'm going to, because if I go bet 4 games today at $250, that's $1,000. And $1,000 times 7 days a week, if I'm making some money, I can have a decent summer. That's kind of where I look at. I don't have to go make, like, football bets are different. I might make a $500 to $1,000 football bet or more. But when it comes to baseball, you bet every single day, and there's so much variance every day. I bet less. But I'm not betting $50. I might go bet $250, $300, even $150, depending on what the scenario looks like and how many games I'm betting and all that stuff. But the goal is to at the end of the week is to be able to go, yeah, I did pretty good. No, I didn't. But that goes back to a whole different other philosophy too of don't put time zones on things. Time zones. What a dumb shit. Don't put time frames on things. It doesn't matter. I mean, I get it. If you have a local guy and you're trying to make money every week after week, or you have to pay the guy week after week or whatever, you got to put a little bit of something on it. Control your bankroll that way. Control your outgo and ingo. But over the course of time, you need thousands of bets before you can sit here and go, oh yeah, your ebbs and flows are going to be big. There's going to be spots. So you don't worry about that stuff, even when you're on a big streak or a losing streak. So anyway, point being is be careful on how you manage your money when you do your betting and so forth. Okay, so let's get back to a game that I did bet. So we talked about this, and for whatever reason, it turns out to be another good spot here for an American League Central team. Minnesota's playing the Texas Rangers, and the Rangers, I think, are just they're somewhat competitive, I guess is one way to say it. But at the same time that you say it, they just haven't done much, and they're kind of floundering away. But this is one of these spots where you got Tyler Mahle that's pitching for the Rangers, and since he's come off the disabled list, he's been pretty good. He's got 2 starts. Both starts were game score 56. So I say this all the time, and especially you get probably nauseated at the beginning of the season. When a pitcher is establishing what his mean looks like, it takes 3 or 4 starts. 3 is a minimum. And you can get a lot of it from 3. But what happens is, and it's just the way all the time, it just doesn't matter. It can be a superstar pitcher or it can be a dud pitcher. It just doesn't matter. They're going to go out, they're going to throw an above average game, they're going to throw a below average game, and they're going to throw an average game. So Tyler Mahle, he's already thrown 2 56s. Well, theoretically, 56 is above average. He's done it twice. So is he going to throw another above average game? I highly doubt it. So that means he's going to be in a spot where he's going to throw either a 50 or worse. Well, that's pretty good when you kind of look at it and go, I know this pitcher is going to throw a 50 or worse today. He's going to be an average at best start, and he's probably going to throw a worse start. So let me go see what my offense looks like for the Minnesota Twins. Well, the Minnesota Twins are currently 11th in offense. But what's interesting is, even though their offensive WAR is 11th, their isolated power is 5th. Well, that's really good because they're hitting home runs, they're hitting doubles, they're doing the things they need to have. They got 3 guys. You want more than 3, but they have 3 guys that have offensive WAR over 1. What's cool about what they're doing, they have 0 guys that have a -1 offensive WAR or worse. Nobody is detracting from this offense. They've got 3 guys that are over the number, and everybody else is kind of right in the middle. So they could have a spark and a blow up at any time where they go really crazy and get a couple of guys really out there driving the bus. And I kind of think that's where they're at today, because I'm looking at the Texas Rangers on offense and I'm going, well, shit, they're 23rd in offense, 25th in isolated power. They've got 2 guys that are hitting above 1 WAR. One of them is Garcia, Adolis Garcia, which he's not on this list that often. I mean, all season long, Simeon and Seager have been on this list quite a bit. He hasn't. But so it's interesting that he's up there right now. And then Kelly, Carson Kelly, I think his name. He's a catcher that they got from another team. He may or may not even play today. As a catcher, they rest those guys. So it's one of those spots where the backup catcher is in there. So then they've got four batters that are pulling away from their offense. So the consistency level, the production level for the Twins is much better situated to have that continue. And especially when you have Tyler Mahle on the mound, who theoretically is going to throw a game that's either that's league average or worse. Oh, well, that sounds good. So then you go back and go, well, who's pitching for the Twins? Pablo Lopez. He's a 3-WAR pitcher. 3.51 xFIP, top 25% of all of baseball in the last 30 days. His whip rate is 1.03, so guys aren't getting on base. His big issue all season long is he's made mistakes. And right now, he's kind of not. He's kind of right in that middle. 0.008 to the good. So it's not a whole lot better than kind of right at the flat. But for him, for the season, he's a minus 0.39. So he's been making mistakes, and kind of right now he isn't. So I like the idea that he's there, and I like that he's not walking guys. 1.74 walk rate over, in 9 innings is the best 25% of baseball. So you're going to have to hit to get on base. The batting average against right now for him is 224. His whip rate's 1.03. So opportunities for the Texas Rangers are going to be few and far between, especially because they can't hit. So when I look at it from a situational level, Mahle's pitched those 2 games, scored 56s, but he's lost both times. He's 0-2 in those 2 starts. And their offense is 8% worse than an average offense versus a right-handed pitcher, and the Twins are 12% better. So the last 20 games, the Twins are 13-7. The Rangers are 5-15. And in the last 10 games, the Rangers are 2-8, and the Twins are 7-3. Teams going like this. They're going way 2 different ways. So you just keep riding it. Because the value in this play, when I looked at the Twins, I have the Twins as minus 180 today. And the reason that becomes that way is because the Texas Rangers are a below 500 team. The Minnesota Twins are, in my numbers, higher rated than the Guardians, and they're going to have like a winning percentage of, well, I got it right here. Where is it? Let's just pull it up. Here we go. The Twins, winning percentage 563, 91 games. 91. Guardians are 501. Jay says no runs in the first innings. I don't do those. So, Jay, that's one of the things that I'm not a guy that handicaps the first inning. So I know there's a market for that, but I don't get involved in that market. Now I do sometimes get involved in prop bets. I gave out one on the last show, which was RBI guys and some stuff. But I'm not a no-run nerfy guy or a yerfy guy. I don't handicap that way. But good question. I appreciate it. Thank you. When you're looking at Minnesota, I got them at 563, and then when you look at Texas, they're 76 wins. They're at 468. So that's going to be a big gap. And then he said, "Got you." All right, no worries. It's all good. But great question, though. I appreciate it. If you got questions on games, I'll be glad to answer them for you. I'll be glad to answer. I can go over, like, if you want nerfies and stuff. Sometimes, it's good to know who's going to pitch well. Like George Kirby's going to pitch good. So I don't expect. So, for example, I don't expect the Pirates to score very much at all. And the way Seattle's hitting, I don't expect them to score very much either. Wolford pitched a good game the last time. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to pitch a good game this time. Rosarena is not in the lineup today. So, you got to kind of figure out whether you like Wolford to hold the Seattle from scoring 1 in the first inning. because I certainly don't think Pittsburgh will. In the way that it's going, they're only scoring 3 runs a game. Holy crap. I don't know if they'll score them in the first inning or not. So anyway, that gets to be to that level. And then when you start to think about Tyler Mahle, he's a 0.6 WAR pitcher. Now, he may eventually be a 2, but they're not going to give him that 2 to start with. He has to kind of grow to that to get to that point, right? So he's kind of getting up there to a 1. He's not there. And then you have Pablo Lopez, who's a 3. So theoretically, you have a roughly 4 times as good pitcher on the mound in Pablo Lopez today than you do Tyler Mahle. And you also think Tyler Mahle is going to pitch an average to below average game. So that's where the value comes in and why the numbers don't look quite the same. And I think the number that I saw was 115, right? Is that where the number is right now? Let's go back over to the Twins. Minnesota. There you are. Look, it's 105, 105. Circus got it 105, 105. Bookmakers 120 to Minnesota. So if it's like a pick'em game, man, you got. I don't see this as a pick'em game. This is not a pick'em. And here's I think some of the old school formatting with this. These 2 teams have played twice already. This is the 3rd game in this series, right? And let me make sure. I don't think they played 4 times. Where's the Twins? Well, we can do it from the Rangers' perspective. So let's go to get rid of that for a second. Let's go schedule. Where's the schedule? So it'll tell me what the scores were. So they played August. So no, they played 4. This will be the 4th game. So they played the Twins 2-3. They got beat. 3-4. They got beat. 2-5. They got beat. And this one is the last game of that series. So old school guys are going to go and say, hey, look, they've played, this will be the 4th game of this series. Teams don't lose 4 games in a series. So that's why you're probably seeing some of the line variance and some of the things you see. What I'm going to tell you is as long as the starters are playing, these guys don't go that way anymore. So it used to be back in the day that, these teams were all in on series. And they didn't want to be swept in a series. They didn't want this. They didn't want that, and all that stuff. Look, if you're 2-8 in the last 10 games and you're 5-15 in the last 20, what difference does this game make versus the last 2 or 3 that you played? And you played fairly competitively. If I recall correctly, and I'm not the greatest memory guy, but I will tell you that I do know that the Twins won some of these games against the bullpen, against the Rangers. And if I pull up the bullpen numbers, bullpen, the Rangers bullpen ranks 26th. 26. They've pitched 51 innings and give up 53 hits, 32 walks. So that's not necessarily going out there and shutting the door. The Twins, they rank 7th, 54 innings, so they pitched 2 more innings. They've given up 10 less hits, 43 hits, only 17 walks. So they're doing a much better job of getting outs in the back end of the game. So I like this. I like all of it, right? I think I got a pitching edge on the mound. I think I got a better offense. And now I think I got a better bullpen. So I like the idea that the Twins, even though you run into this problem of, okay, this is game 4 of a series and they've won the first 3, I think they can win all 4 of them. It used to be that you never did this kind of stuff. You never bet that way. And part of your handicap had to be which game of the series is this, and is a team 2-0 ahead? Who's going to win the series? And all that stuff. That stuff's kind of gone now. The way the game is played is different. The way the games are thought about are different. It used to be the first game of a doubleheader. All you had to do is wait to see who won, and then bet the team who lost the second game, because they always split the doubleheaders. That doesn't happen anymore. They win both games of doubleheaders anymore. Teams sweep series a lot. Teams win 3 out of 4 games a lot. Of course, in this case, it wouldn't help me if they won 3 out of 4. But the point being is this is kind of where I'm headed with it. I think you have some good value there. And then the last spot that I really wanted to talk about, and then we'll be done. I think the Dodgers are a little overrated today. I don't like the Cardinals, but Kershaw's pitched 2 pretty good games. I don't expect Kershaw at his age and at his level of stuff performance, velocity of movement, and all that stuff. He doesn't have what he did 10 years ago. He's not a Cy Young pitcher anymore. And he's pitched good the last couple of times out. So consistency-wise, I don't think that he's in a spot where he's going to maintain that. The problem is well, I shouldn't say the problem. They're facing the Cardinals, and it's at home for the Cardinals, which matters in this particular thing I'm getting ready to say, where you have Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray has gone through some spots and some spells where he just can't get out. He gets hit. He strikes guys out. He does this, that, but he gets hit and he gives up runs. He's not necessarily in that spot as he used to be. Sonny Gray right now is a 98 and SOPS plus. So he's 2% better than average pitcher. Kershaw's a 92. So roughly the same thing. But where the variance here is Sonny Gray, when he pitches in St. Louis, he's a 52 SOPS plus at home. So he's 48% better than an average pitcher at home. So now you sit there and you go, all right, so how do we take advantage of that? Because we sit there and go, I don't think that Kershaw's going to do too well. I think he's going to do halfway decent. So do you bet on St. Louis? Well, they're an underdog, right? Aren't they? Aren't they still an underdog in this game? And if you go there, where's my stupid thing at? There we go. And that's the wrong one. Man, I got so many windows going on that it makes it, there we go, that it makes it hard to find these games. All right, so that game, St. Louis is, I guess it flipped. They were, the game opened minus 120. Circus has it minus 109 for St. Louis. So not necessarily pick them, but minus 109, minus 110. My number on the game in that particular game is my odds were minus 105. So there's kind of values going away. But when it was Dodgers at minus 120, and you could get Cardinals at plus 110, that's kind of where the value came in. Where okay, you can get them at plus 110 when you think they should be at least at worst a pick 'em. I have them at minus 105, so I thought that was a good spot. And Sonny Gray at home is pretty good compared to Sonny Gray on the road. The only issue that I would ever have is, and this is one of those weird baseball problems, when you start to think about what the Cardinals look like. The Cardinals against, where are they? There they are. So the Cardinals against left-handed pitching are 15% worse than an average offense. That's awful. I think they rank 28th out of 30 teams. They're one of the worst hitting teams against left-handed pitchers in terms of weighted runs created plus, right? And that doesn't, though, translate to their overall record. They've faced 37 left-handed pitchers, won 19. So they're 19 and 18, yet they're like the second worst, third worst offensive team against left-handed pitchers. So there's something goofy going on with that correlation, because there isn't one. It doesn't correlate, and it should. When you have a team that is really good. Like, where's Milwaukee? Milwaukee is 8% better than an average offense against right-handed pitchers. They're 56-33, 26 games above 500 against right-handed pitchers. So you want to bet Milwaukee against right-handed pitchers almost every time they play. And then theoretically, when the Cardinals are playing left-handed pitchers, they're 15% worse than an average offense, one of the worst in baseball. You wouldn't want to bet on them, but yet they win more than they lose. It doesn't make sense. So some of that stuff doesn't kind of correlate, and it doesn't really go real well. But I just thought it was an interesting spot that if you could get St. Louis as an underdog, which doesn't look like you can get them anymore, but if you could get them as an underdog, it might have been a good play. So anyway, that's what I got for you today. We talked about Kansas City today. We talked about Pittsburgh under their total 3.5. We talked about having some value in Milwaukee, but that's kind of up to you if you want to play them. Minnesota was a good bet, and that's what I got. So anyway, guys, there's a lot of people on here again on Sunday. I appreciate you coming on board. There's almost 200 people here. Please do me a favor and like what we're doing. I know I'm not an influencer. I don't do this stuff for that purpose. But if you do the likes and the retweets and all that stuff, it just helps the show, helps us keep growing. We had 300 people on here on Friday. Unfortunately, I didn't do a show yesterday. Normally I do. So I do, again, appreciate everybody being here. And like I said, I'm not an influencer guy. So I don't know exactly how to wrap these shows up that way, but all I can say is it does help. It really does. If you guys like the show, retweet the shows, make comments and do different things, because then more people see it. The more people that see it that I'm not affiliated to, the better off it does and the better off it grows. The more that grows, the better off we're going to be able to do to get some sponsors in here. You can see some little sponsors and some things that we have going on already, but the goal is to have this whole thing bought and paid for by someone who sponsors it, so that we can afford to do things like have producers and grow it to a point where we can put some slides on. You don't have to see my ugly face and all that stuff, and really do some fun things. Football is coming. Yesterday would have been more of a football show than a baseball show. I know it says inside the batter's box and all that stuff, but next week on Saturday, there's college football. Not very many, not much. And then then the following week is a full slate of college football, and you got the NFL coming. So we're going to be spending a lot of time on football. We're also going to spend a lot of time on baseball. So if you guys like what we're doing, please do it. Like it up, do this retweet and all that stuff. If you want more, right, just go to my website, mlb-data.com. If you want to be a customer of mine, you can do that too. It only costs $100. It's $100 for a whole season, whole year. You just click the links and sign up. And then you get, when I make plays, you'll be able to see where I played. And if you want to copy them, you can. If you don't, you fade them, whatever you want to do. But the idea is that there's data and information that I put out there every day. And then if you don't want to do that, that's okay too. You can just go there and sign up for a free newsletter. Like every time I write an article or do whatever, post something to the free part of the website, it'll come to your e-box. So you can do any of those things that you like, but all of that helps support us and all that helps us grow. So again, thank you so much, guys, for coming. Let's have a good Sunday. I'm not here on Mondays. We'll see what the football season brings around and all that kind of stuff. But and because I think we'll probably do a Monday show because we want to talk about lines that came out and breakdowns and early lines and stuff like that. So, but usually on Mondays, there's less games. Like tomorrow, there's 10 games as opposed to today, there's 15. And Thursdays, we don't do shows, which we may change a little bit because obviously there's an NFL game on Thursday. There's college football on Thursdays coming up. So we'll change some of the times when we're not doing shows. I'm handicapping all the time. I'm data analyzing all the time. So doing a show is just a matter of I've already got the work done. It's just talking about it. So doesn't hurt to go on, just as long as we have viewership and we have things going on. So again, guys, really so much. Thank you so much. Have a great Sunday, and I will see you the next time that I'm planning on being on is Tuesday. I'll be here at 6:15 in the afternoon with Tuesday slated games, and we're getting down to the nitty gritty here in baseball. So we'll see how some of that stuff plays out and how we go on. So let's have a great show, guys. Talk to you later.